episode of I Podcast That. My name is Brian Colbert. I'm the CEO and founder of SitchRadio.com, located here in Irvine, Orange County, California. So I've missed a couple of weeks. Studio's been phenomenally busy. We're adding headcount to serve you, our customers, better. It's just been phenomenal, man. I feel so fortunate to be working in the podcast space and creating jobs in the podcast space and helping people tell their story first and foremost. That's the most important part of it. And it's Friday. It's soon to be Friday afternoon. If you don't follow us on TikTok, hit it up, Sitch Radio, because I hear some TikToks are coming about a little pizza party for the staff here at Sitch. Kind of excited about that. Anyway, today, as the title describes, I want to go over a checklist. And this is a checklist we use and we provide to the hosts that need a checklist to help create, promote their podcast episodes. And it being Friday afternoon and this, my last show of the week, I've got a can of loveliness here. I think I'm going to save it for my pizza, though. Anyway, let's get into this. So you're going to create an episode, whether it's your first or fifth. I encourage you to have some sort of checklist or just a guide you can follow to make sure nothing gets missed and make sure you're representing yourself and your brand professionally. So show prep, let's start there. I have an idea for a podcast. I want to invite Bill to be a guest on that podcast. So what I'm going to do is send him out an email. Hey, Bill, this is Brian with I'd Podcast That from Sitch Radio. And it's funny, I'm trying to do the pointing thing. I'm not a good pointer. For those listening, I'm pointing to graphics. And typically this is a form letter. So you can write it once, copy paste it into an Evernote, or if your email system allows you to templatize emails, is that a word? Emails, save it there. And that way you can just load it, change the name, change dates, change times, and you're good to go. But it's your first initial contact, professional contact saying, hey, we'd like you to be on the show. I typically include a little information just so they kind of get a hint of what they're going to get themselves into. And that information is, it's broadcasted live video on Facebook and YouTube, or maybe LinkedIn. The audio is live, or the podcast episode will drop, 1 week after we record it. Just a little bit of information so they kind of know what to expect. And in my opinion, it legitimizes you as that professional in the podcasting space. So we get this email back from Bob. Bob says, yeah, I'd love to be a guest on your podcast. This is cool. The next templated email comes out saying, great, this is what we need to do. We need to schedule a date and time where you're going to be in the location, utilizing the equipment you have to be the guest on this podcast. So this way we can test out webcam or camera setup, microphone. We can get a sense for the room atmosphere and any noise that might be going on in the room and make sure we can deal with that. And it's also a great time to get a face-to-face. I try not to get too techie in this conversation. We might guide them to, hey, I see a little light shining in from the left. Is that a blind or a curtain? Maybe you could open a little more to get that natural light in on your face and just illuminate you a little better. But it's kind of a get to know Bob session as well. So break it down. And I try not to ask questions about what we're going to be discussing. It's wife, kids, weather, location, travel, things of that nature. Bob's going to bring up, because Bob's super excited. He's going to bring up questions. So what are we going to talk about? What kind of questions are you going to ask me? And you can kind of get into it answering their questions there. That way you're kind of getting a sense of pace and tonality and excitement. So Bob asks you a question, you throw it back. Is Bob pondering it and then asking the next question, or is Bob just firing off the next question? That's going to give you an idea of what your episode or recording session might be like. So very important. The next email, third, is going to be great. Now we need to schedule the recording and or live session. And I'm going to need this, this, and this from you. It's typically going to include a bio so you can introduce Bob appropriately. If you create specific graphics for each episode, this is where we need that awesome headshot, preferably large enough to work with. I always ask for at least 2,000 pixel wide images. So many times we get little thumbnails. Just yesterday, a guest sent an image in 102 pixels by 102 pixels. And if you're creating your own graphic or you have a graphic designer, you know that's not going to be big enough. You enlarge it, it's pixelated, it doesn't look good. So we specify 2,000 by 2,000 pixel image or whatever you need to get the job done. That way you're getting the appropriate graphic size to build that post out easily. So we got bio, we've got picture, any links that they might want to link to in your show notes, social medias, website, sales page, whatever it may be. Now, when you get that link, test that link. Make sure you test the links. So now we have all of that stuff in our possession. We've got our dates scheduled. This is where we need to get into building out that episode. So what are we going to call it? Is that title gripping? Is someone going to read that title and go, oh, I have to listen to this? So make sure you spend a little bit of time on that title. Any keywords that are used in that title, you want to replicate in the first sentence of your description for that episode. That way you're getting into a little SEO when you're building out the post before you even schedule it out and or publish that episode. And I'm kind of doing this and or recording session and or live because a lot of people are doing live podcasting now, and they're also doing it video and audio. So we want to make sure we're using the right terminology for whatever it is you're doing. Nothing is worse than your guest popping on 10 minutes before you're supposed to go live and they had no idea it was a video show and they've got curlers in their hair and Bob's wearing his pajamas. It just doesn't make for good video. And now we're going to be late because they want to go change or do their makeup or do their hair or whatnot. So make sure you're very, very specific about what it is you're doing. Excuse me. So with all of that having been said, we have a title, we have a description, we have our guest. Bullet point out. I am not one for scripts. We have a teleprompter here in the studio. A lot of our hosts will read the bio or the opening, which is perfectly fine. But when you get into the nuts and bolts, it's good to be organized with bullet points. Hey, I want to talk about Bob's Camaro, and then I want to talk about Bob's buddy's Ford truck. Whatever research you did on that guest, bullet point those topics out. Know them. Don't make a list of 50 things. Make a list of 6 or 7 things. If you're doing a 30-minute show, you'll be lucky to get to all of them. That way you can keep on track. And if Bob brings up his buddy's Ford truck, then you can kind of cross that off the list or make that mental note. I no longer need to bring this up. It's been covered. Very, very important to do. So now we're live. If we're live, we've built out the feed with that title, that description, those links to your guest. Don't forget to include your links to your social and or where you want to drive the audience. I believe on this very episode, we only link to the website. We're trying to drive people to the website right now, not so much our social posts. We've got other campaigns in play to grow social. We want people on the website. Free from distraction. They can learn more about the studio and about our shows and what's going on here. That's very, very important to us. If it is a recorded show, it's very important that you pay attention to your ID3 or EXIF data in that audio file. Is it titled appropriately? You don't want EP3.mp3 as your show title. You want it to be the title of the show.mp3 ready for publishing. You want to make sure the title is there, the station is there, the date is there, the episode number is there. And if you've never done this manually, right click on that file, go to properties, details, and you can fill information in. It prompts you as to what information you can add to it. Very important. If it's a live show like this, going to YouTube when this broadcast ends. We could do it before too, because we scheduled it out. We're going to go back in and tag it out and spruce it up a little bit for search, which is very important if you want your show to be found. Boom, boom. If you're going to transcribe the show, we typically will not upload an audio file for transcription in one of the artificial intelligence programs that includes music. They typically charge by minute. So we cut the headers, we cut intro music, we cut all of that stuff. So they're just getting what we want transcribed. So now we have 2 copies of that file. We have the published file to include intro, outro music, commercials, whatnot. Then we have just the episode that doesn't have commercials, intro music, outro music, any of that. Once we get that transcription, then we can then add that to the blog post if you're building out a blog or episodic page on your website for each and every episode. Boom, 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 boom. Category. If you have a website, it can help your viewers understand what categories you have, and you can specify this episode pertains to category 1, 7, and 9, not so much 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. So you can build those out, but make sure you take the time to do it. A lot of people build in WordPress or Wix or Squarespace, and you can tag out each and every blog post. Very important to do that, again, for search. We embed players in blog posts. On sitchradio.com, every show has a show page. We do not build a post out for every episode. We have a show page that contains a player. People can scroll through and look for the individual shows. And the reason we don't build out blog posts, we don't want traffic coming to Sitch Radio if they're looking for an episode of The Field Op. We want them going to the Field Ops webpage and spending time over there. We're not here to steal the minutes online. We want to just be an engine where people can discover one of our podcasts and go to where that podcast mainly lives. For example, Sjogren Strong has its own website. We direct traffic there. That's where we should be. It's our job to help create story and audio, and in this case, video, not hoard that web traffic, if you will. So the point is, there's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot to do. And it would suck if you missed a couple of steps, especially if it helps search. So put together a checklist and live by it. And remember, any document, any checklist, any guide, treat as a living document. Update it when you need to. So next time you go to it, it's got the updated version. With Podcasting 2.0 coming out and extra categories or line items in that RSS file, who knows what's going to be there? Who knows? There could be links to releases. There could be links to all in the RSS feed. So it's good to add that to a checklist when and if your podcast host starts supporting extra fields within that RSS. I hope this kind of helped. The biggest takeaway you can do is A, build a checklist. B, because I said A, not 2. B, build out your templated emails. We invite you. Thank you for agreeing. Next steps. Thanks for that awesome pre-call. We're good to go. Dates, times, next steps, what to expect, any and all of that. If you make it easy for the guests, they're just going to be, wow, what a pleasant experience, because I've heard it myself from guests that, wow, I was on this other show and it was nothing like this. You guys are organized, squared away, professional. So build those systems in place. It's only going to save you time. It's going to standardize the process and make your guests feel more comfortable. One last thing, when the show's over, share whatever graphics you built to promote that episode with your guests, with some suggested copy and links to their episode. They will be more likely to share it across their social channels if you make it easy for them to do so. So very, very important. Make it easy for them your show's only going to benefit from all that hard work. And that's the last thing on the list, send guest media pack. So I want to thank you for joining me this week. I hope you've taken something away from this. If you have any questions at all, hit up sitchradio.com. We do meetups monthly. We're starting physical in-person meetups again monthly. We have an iPodcast that online community where you can ask questions and get responses and learn how to better do your craft. So I need to go eat some pizza and drink a Guinness. Until next week.